title of today's spiritual discussion is turning or transmuting victimhood into victory by using the spoken word or the written word. I am a writer, and so I wanted to go back. My business, Elizabeth Maria Unlimited, is I'm a writer, I'm a whole food health advocate, and I offer intuitive guidance. And so I wanted to kind of go through each part of, what encompasses who I am and, what I'm excited to offer the world. And right now, guys, I mean, my main focus is to stay in a state of gratitude myself and to focus on my creative endeavors and to share them with the world in the hopes that you guys just get a little upliftment, a little maybe motivation, inspiration. I mean, that's what it's all about. The world is in a state of uncertainty, and it has been what has worked for me to keep me in a state of unshakable understanding of who I am in the face of all of this uncertainty is the written word. So I wanted to first frame it as a discussion of, just the world collective, what we consider, writing. And so we all know, guys, and I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but we all understand and know the power of words. I consider words as one of the building blocks of this material reality. It's for me, and again, this is just my coming into these ideas. So for me, it's frequency, sound, right? Color, numbers, and then words. And so words is the last stage before we come into full physical manifestation. And that word manifestation is honestly problematic for me because it's not like we're like poof manifesting stuff from thin air, right? All we're doing is aligning our energy to what is already here for us to experience, right? And so the powers that have been, I'll put that in the past tense. The powers that have been have known that writing or oral spoken word is powerful, right? I mean, and going kind of into this, there's also been a huge debate about okay, we know that words and language are powerful, right? I mean, that's why they call it spelling, right? Because we are actually, but the idea of casting spells is really just an idea of sending intention out into the world behind whatever tool that you choose to use. And so if you're spelling using words, then that is your tool to put intention out into the world. And so I feel that the term casting spells really kind of gets a negative connotation. And so it's really just putting out your intention to the world. So we know that words are powerful. I know within academic circles, there has been a huge debate about, and it's because we put these debates within a hierarchical structure, which honestly is, I think, the problem with everything. But because there is no if it's, better or worse or whatever, it's just everything is, right? And so oral language came first. I mean, I'll say that, right? And we think about the oral traditions of the griots, right, in Western Africa, or, all over, who traveled and spoke the histories and spoke the stories of, their people, right? And we're talking about a time, oh, shoot, I didn't realize there was going to be a commercial on here. Let's pause that. Oh, it's doing something. Anyways, where was I? just turn this down a little bit. Okay, some nice flute music to get back in the flow. Anyways, so this was at a time, when the griots were traveling the land, when Timbuktu was the, height of intellectual power, right? And we're talking way, way, way before the Europeans and, their bards, right? And so this was an oral history that was passed down. And so I believe that there is, great strength and power in the oral word, right? But the word is also powerful as a written form, right? And so, I really haven't ruminated over because you speak it and then you write it, or you can think it and then you write it. So that kind of process. However, I believe that the debate between the written language and the oral language really has no basis, because it's both. They're both powerful, powerful ways to create, to transmute, to bring in, to set up boundaries, That's why, millions of books have been burned, right? Because of the power of language. So I really don't think there should be a debate. And I believe why is because we live in a dualistic world. So we believe that there needs to be a right, wrong, black, right, up, down, all of that jazz, right? But all of that is just, a mental illusion that we tell ourselves, I guess maybe to help us feel safe and secure in these vessels. However, we know, guys, I know that you guys can feel it in your body the way I can, that we are infinite. We are infinite beings having a physical experience. And within this physical experience, words and language is one of the cornerstones of material form, right? The written word has been used as a subversive, revolutionary written form for ages. It is a language and a word that can literally move mountains. And so I cannot emphasize enough the importance of language and of words, both spoken orally and written. Now, I am a writer. I do a lot of talking as well. But I wanted to now kind of move into the so below. So as above, right? Language is, again, what is it? The first line of the Bible, and then there was the word, or something like that, right? First there was the word, right? It's so everything boils down to, again, frequency, sound, color, numbers, and then the word. Let's do it this way. Frequency, sound, color, numbers, the word, right? And then there was the word. And so it's the building block of this material reality, which I think is really, really beautiful. I can nerd out about this stuff, guys. Let me tell you. Anyway, so moving from our as above discussion into so below. So what can we do with this information, right? When I was in academics, one of my biggest complaints was, how is my research, how is my writing applicable to the everyday world, right? I was not interested in, sitting up in that ivory tower just ruminating. I have always wanted my scholarship, my research, my writing, my words to be applicable to everyday life. So how can we bring writing into our everyday life? Well, before I give you guys, a couple practical tools that you can use or not. I just wanted to, and I want to turn this down a little bit. I love the flute, guys. I actually played the flute in middle school. I was really good. I got up to like third chair. I would love to play the flute again. And I feel like I probably have muscle memory with it, but it's just been a long time. Anyways, I'm turning that down. So, yay. So, going to my own personal writing journey. I started writing I started speaking actually poetically when I was 3. And I told my mother, I said, God is in everything. The trees, the birds, and the steering wheel and daddy's beard. And I don't think it was exactly like that, but it pretty much was. So, and she wrote it down. And so my mother was really one of the first people to encourage me to write down what it was that I was speaking. By the time that I was in the first grade, I was writing short stories. I started writing serial stories where I would write chapter by chapter, and this was kind of up in elementary school and middle school. I had a typewriter, and I would write a chapter, give it to my friends, they'd read it, and then I'd write the next chapter. So writing has just been a huge part of my life. I did go to the University of Georgia. I have a bachelor's in English and African American studies, and I have my master's in English and creative writing. I taught within academia for close to a decade. I've taught all over the world, really, and I taught writing strategies, research strategies, world literature, American poetry. So that was my life for many years while I was raising my daughter. I have used my writing as a form to connect to community when I was a lot younger. I mean, I have written for several zines. I started writing groups, and I mean, basically, it doesn't matter, you know, and this is all about like learning like how to become unshakable. Well, and using your creative talents to help you. Doesn't matter where you're at in this world. You can use your creative talents. Mine is writing. I like to joke that writing is one of my superpowers. You know, I wield the pen. And so, let's see where I was. Yeah. So writing for me has been a huge source of self-healing in my life. It's a way to help release energy that has been long stuck in the body, because, you know, if you guys know anything about when we experience a traumatic experience, when we have a traumatic experience, the energy of it, if it's not released immediately, can actually get stuck in the body, right? And so for me, writing, and especially writing about experiences that I've had, and I will say that I've had to take considerable time between experiences and actually starting to release energy around them through the written word, because sometimes it can be too close and too raw. So just, you know, always with any type of spiritual healing practice, it's so important to check in with yourself, check in with your body. You know, what works for one person will not work for everyone. We are beautiful, beautiful little unique snowflakes, and we really are. And so, you know, some people may hate the process of writing. I mean, I don't know. It's just what works for me. And I know that it works for a lot of other people. So if this resonates, you know, take it and leave the rest, right? Okay, so I believe that writing can help release old stuck energy in the body. And I also believe that writing can help you shift your perspective around certain topics, subjects. You know, I know that even, you know, from the perspective of reading other people's writing, right? I mean, whole worlds can open up. So for me, writing has been my constant companion. It has been something that I've done professionally. It has been with me during times when I had nothing. Guys, if y'all are really interested in, other aspects of my journey, really check out the first season of my podcast, Sex, Drugs, and Spirituality, because I'll go into a lot of that on that podcast, but I'm not going to really talk about it. But I will say that from a very young age, I left home when I was 15, and my modus operatus was to either numb or run for a number of years. And so even in states when I was running, I have traveled all over the world. I've lived high on the hog. I've also lived in caves, under bridges. And in all of those experiences, I had some form of notebook, some form of, it doesn't have to be freaking fancy, guys. It doesn't have to be some leather bound, perfect, like just something. I have always written. I am thinking about times when, and also a big part of my experience from the 80s until rather recently has been being incarcerated in mental institutions and jails and various places. I've had a lot of especially when I was younger, I was very angry and I lashed out a lot at the world, and so I spent some time in jail, and I wrote, and that's what got me through. And one time I was actually in New Orleans, and I mean, this was, God, I was like 18 then, and I'm 51 now, so it was, it's been a while. But when I was in jail in New Orleans for 33 days, and I found, it was like intake sheets or something. I mean, you figure it out, because they sure as hell didn't give me a notebook. But I just found, like, the outside of paper towel rollers, like whatever it was that I could write with. And writing got me through that experience. Writing has gotten me through, honestly, every experience that I've had, good, bad, whatever. I mean, writing has been by my side, and oh my God, I'm feeling like really emotional about it, guys, because, I've spent a long time thinking about things in this material world that have been with me for so many decades that aren't, real positive. I mean, I have a lot of patterns and a lot of habits that still are not, that I'm still releasing, right? Like smoking is a big one, right? And that's, I mean, I wouldn't say it's negative. I'm where I'm at, but writing has been with me from the beginning, and writing is like my best friend, and no one can take it from me. And I'm just so thankful that I've never given up on my writing, and that I've never allowed anyone to ever tell me that I wasn't good enough. I started college when I was a single mother. I was cleaning houses. It wasn't a very practical path to take, creative writing in English, when, you got a little baby and no money, but I did it. Guys, I'm getting all emotional. Ooh! I had no idea all this was going to come up, and I'm so thankful. So, if you can consider, I'm trying to turn this down a little bit, if you can consider all things in this experience, this moment, this reality that we're in, as their own entities, right? Then writing has been my angel, my guardian angel, my best friend. Never anything negative. So thank you. Thank you, writing. I appreciate you helping me on my journey. Woo! Okay, guys. So before I move on, I am going to share 3 poems that I've written in the last few years that I wrote when I was in just various states of, I guess, psychiatrists might say insanity. But really, it's just all been about clearing this energy of this world, guys, you know, of our experiences that didn't serve. And I've experienced a lot that didn't serve. And so I got a lot of clearing. So, whew. Thank you, Great Spirit. I love you, writing. Okay. So now I'm going to share 3 poems with y'all. The first poem I wrote in 2020, and it's called This Is Not a Little Ditty. And I'm looking at this now. I write a lot of poems just in the notepad of my iPhone. And so this is not a little ditty. I know in the outside over there, we slide back and forth between reason and madness, between loneliness and kudzu-covered corridors, between the nagging knot in the gut and the recesses that whisper, no, no, this is all a facade. Last century's genocide once again regurgitated in an insidious way. As the buildings bend in delight, in the probing of nations, gnashing their teeth and exclaiming their superiority, their grandiosity etched on the inside flap, while the masses can no longer gather and rather sink deeper into minds of discontent. It is not written in cuneiform, though they falsely rub their nutsacks and prance in delight, while the multitudes of disparity lick laps around the psyche of the deranged who proclaim righteousness while shout in the name of homeless youth, skating past MARTA and BART stations in unison. As emergency room floors wriggle in progress while snakes dance on linoleum, on hedge funds vining like parasites inside conditioned brains. It is enough. It is not enough. It is exactly as it should be. It is this place, this realm, this foreign indignation of lay men and women and all the in-betweens, long pushed but still clinging to the audacity to speak quick-tongued while butchers brand the new normal on rib cages long overdue for an apocalyptic opportunity. To rise in random and proclaim that the place we run to is out of order and out of sufficient late night blunders. Of the laugh, of the run, hide, and seeking in anticipation of tomorrow, of the places notched that may or may not be. It is telling who sits stoic and waits and fumbles while we all wink and nod. And then, as it all comes tumbling, we proceed with a quickness and become. Woo, man. Woo, I felt the energy in that one, guys. Oh my God. Thank you, God. Thank you, Great Spirit. Thank you for this moment. Okay, so the second poem that, and again, I wrote that in 2020, right as we were moving into COVID. The second poem that I'm going to share with you guys today, and I'm sharing this because it's important for me to emphasize to anyone that's listening that writing can heal, and it's important. And it doesn't matter where you are at or what you are doing, you can use writing, if it calls to you, as a way to get through the day. Because remember, the day is a page, right? It's a page in this life experience existence. And so for me, writing has helped me get through some of the most challenging of experiences. And so I'm sharing this with you guys. And this is actually not a structured poem, but a entry in a journal that I just recently found or re-stumbled on. And this is a journal that I kept during a period in my life when I experienced homelessness. And at this time, I was living in a shelter, and I was working at Waffle House, and where I was at the shelter at the Salvation Army, and they had a gym where anyone that was at the shelter could go to. And so I was so thankful at that time in my life that I could, at least, even though I was homeless, that I could still go to the gym and swim and stuff. So anyways, I'm calling this Sitting Under an Overpass off Green Street. September 2nd. I have my coffee and cigarettes under an overpass off Green Street. Traffic zooms above as I sit in my makeshift time machine and travel through dimensions. The lesser known trails, like the wisps and curls of cigarette smoke dissipating eventually into thin air. I have taken the crevices that twist and turn, plots like fallen angel fairy tales, spread wings and hover, a glimmer or a shiver down wrecked nervous systems, gun pressed to temple, no time for memories tucked in backpacks and stuff. The slimy goo of forgotten you sticks to surfaces like radioactive glue. So I sit and contemplate future days gone by as I sit by your side in our mountain castle by the sea. Today I'll walk to the gym about a mile. Man, the exercise makes me smile in this moment out in the wilds. Then yoga and hot tub awaits to cleanse the glue out of the sockets so they can be used to shine bright light on this barreling flight through our minds' reality, this ghetto earth school, this shared reality. So I just opened up my journal, or the journal that I was carrying back then, to this page this morning and read this, and it was it's a wonderful reflection that even when I was in a state of sheer, what other people might consider desperation, I had no money, no support, I was living in a shelter. I crafted the time to write as my therapy, really. It's a hell of a lot cheaper. Okay, so the last poem that I am going to read for you guys before I move on is entitled Turn Victimhood to Victory. And this is the most recent poem that I've written. I wrote it, let me see what the date is, because I just keep notebooks, guys, and I have so many of these, I wrote this at the beginning of April. Okay, so this is the last poem for you, and then I will give you guys an exercise that you can use too if writing resonates for you as a powerful tool for transmutation and shedding what no longer serves and being able to bring in the energy of what does serve for you. Turning victimhood to victory. Turn victimhood to victory by shifting the way you see. Focus on the land will ground. When you cry, go hug trees. And as you choose to feel the healing energy and that it's real, you feel it and you shift it from a mentality that keeps nerves frozen in the rain, stuck in muscles, circulatory and vascular pain. As above, so below, this perspective shifts as you begin to flow. Low to high, you reach the sky, turn pain of victimhood to expansive gains of victory over our ability to change the story and become the star, to decide that you are not trying to be worthy. You already are. Yay, guys. So I'm getting there with all of us collectively, and it just filled my heart to be able to share some of my poetry with you and to tell you a little bit about my own writing journey, why I believe in the written word, and why you guys should too. Now, an exercise. So when I was teaching, I always would encourage my students to do what is called like brainstorming, just kind of free flow writing. And as I moved into the more accelerated part of my spiritual awakening, I realized that brainstorming and free flow writing is really what the spiritual community calls automatic writing or channeled messages, channeled writing, right? I believe that, the pen can be utilized as a conduit of energy from the ethers into this material reality. And so I developed this personal writing exercise for you guys, and I'm calling it the I Am poem. And it incorporates all of the building blocks of material form: frequency, sound, color, and words, and numbers, right? And so what you do for the I Am poem, and I'm actually going to do an I Am poem this week doing this same exercise, and if anyone decides to do an I Am poem as well using this exercise, I would love for you guys to share them. You can post them on any of my platforms. It would just be a wonderful way for us to, engage in community building, right, using the written word. And really, that's why I do all of this, guys, is I'm a humanitarian and I love you guys. I love our crazy freaking humans. So personal writing exercise, the I Am poem. So for the first 5 to 10 minutes, you free flow, starting with the words I am. And whatever you think about, it does not matter. And honestly, I would suggest you try to suspend thinking at all. Just take the pen, and whatever comes out after you write I am is good. You don't need to worry about spelling. I know for me, I am not a good speller and I'm a writer, so don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. As long as you know what you've written, that's all that matters, okay? So just write for about 5 minutes, okay? Oh, and while you're writing, I encourage you to, after I am, if it comes into your consciousness, consider writing words that have to do with colors and numbers and sound, okay? And I'm going to do this too, guys. So colors, numbers, sound. I am free flow write. If you do kind of focus in on what you're writing, focus on colors, numbers, or sound, okay? And so then after your 5 to 10 minutes of free flow writing, take a break, Make sure you back in your body, give a little tap. Look at what you've written. And I want you to think of your favorite number, or think of, for me, I have a lot of favorite numbers, but 4 is my numerology, like life path number or whatever. So I use 4 a lot. And actually, I'm 444 all the way across for numerology. So, I use 4 a lot. So for this exercise, you're going to look at your paper and you're going to take the 4th word and you're going to circle it. And that is the word that you will start your I am poem with. Now, for the rest of the exercise, you can go through everything that you've written and use the counting. So every 4th word you've got to use in a line, right? And so let's say your number's 23. I mean, I don't know how many words you've written, but you can go through and you can also combine it. So if you pick number 23, you picked your 23rd word to start the poem, and then you can combine 2 and 3 together, 5, and then after that, pick every 5th word to use in each line. Okay, so that is, and so why a personal writing exercise like this? Well, I think it's fun, and it really helps to shift your perspectives about what writing is. And I believe that a lot of people get very self-conscious when they're writing. They want to use the right words, or they want to, or whatever. And so this is an exercise that really just kind of gets rid of all of that. So the immediate flow, right? I am flow. If you start thinking, think numbers, colors, sound. Then go back, pick the word that is correlated with your favorite number. Mine is 4, so I would pick the 4th word. And then I pick that word, and that starts my I am poem. And then I take my favorite number and I go through all of my automatic writing, and every 4th word I'm going to circle, and I'm going to use that word in one line in each line of my poem. And then just kind of go from there and see what happens. And again, processes like this help you to just really shift your thinking and open yourself up to the possibilities of what written language can do for you individually. So I hope that you guys enjoyed my spiritual discussion today. I just get a lot out of these ruminations, and it fills me with joy. It's